So, I mean, this is real-time consequences in people's lives for this kind of gridlock. Karen, you were saying they managed to get FAA through, no problem. If you had to stand in line, right? If you had to stand in line for a plane, then, we're going to solve that. But you can just wait for your trial.
Well, that's absolutely right. And again, to some degree, it's because the people who are waiting are invisible, right? They're not big donors. They're not people who have a large, loud group of people advocating for them, right? It's, here and there. And that is part of the problem with our politics right now, is that there's this invisibility, basically. If you can't get yourself up here, you're just going to have to wait.
Yeah. Is this inability to make this happen in a sort of historic sense, is this a failure of presidential leadership? Is this a shift in our partisanship? Is this about new structures that basically make it a 60-person vote that must happen in the context of the Senate? Like, I really am trying to understand, should I be thinking this is a bad president or an evil Congress?
In this particular case, and you know me, I'm a pretty harsh critic of this president's effort level on some things, but in this particular case, I think this is purely the result of obstructionism. He has put forward nominees. They are reasonable nominees that in any other era would have sailed through confirmation. And so this is just one of these like purely GOP obstructionist things. And I think also on gun control, to bring it back to that, like he did everything there that the left is always saying we want him to do. Like he barnstormed the country. He sent Joe Biden to barnstorm the country. He sent Michelle Obama to barnstorm the country, right? He mobilized OFA. He did everything that is in his sort of wheelhouse of tricks to get and campaigning to get the bill passed. And it failed because of the filibuster and because of structural rules in the Senate.
Right, because it had a majority vote. It just didn't have 60.
Now, on a lot of other things, I think he hasn't, tried hard enough.
But on this one,
But we have a politics in which individual members of Congress are so tightly tied to intensely organized interests that they are afraid, really afraid, despite their safe seats, to move in the public interest towards compromise positions.
Ira, would term limits change that?
Oh, that's a good question. Term limits often have unintended consequences. They get rid of the people with skill legislation and who have developed the capacity over the years to think about the public interest in a thoughtful way. The negative part of term limits is that we continue to feed the system with those with the least experience and the most intense connections to donors, to fierce interest groups, and to those unwilling to make necessary compromises in the civic interest.
Patrick, part of the Republican narrative here is that the president is a bad leader, even as, part of what they say is, we're not going to help you, but then they say, I can't even believe you didn't lead me. I mean, why didn't you lead me?
Yeah.
Is there anyone who you would define as having had a Congress that was on the other side, right, Democrat or Republican, who you saw as a good leader of that Congress?
Well, I'll give bipartisan. I mean, Reagan and even Clinton. I mean, Clinton had got things passed, and I think the reason they did that is that these guys cast a vision. For Reagan, it was shining city on the hill. Even for Obama's first term, it was the concept of hope and change. I mean, conservatives didn't understand what it was, but people understood that there's this theme to what he does. And I think that right now Obama's lacking a theme. Believe it or not, there was a Democrat actually got me involved in politics. It was my congressman, Buddy Darden, from the 7th Congressional District in Georgia. When Clinton wanted to pass his tax increases, Clinton was such a leader of his own party. Buddy made that tough decision to pass the tax increases. He lost his seat over it. But Clinton had inspired enough leadership in his own party to do this.
Let me tell you, because we got to go break. I am down with let's call Bill Clinton a great leader and all that, but let's just not forget he was impeached. I worry about this revisionist thing we do about the great Clinton years, when in fact he was actually also impeached by his Congress. But more on all of the revisionist history when we come back. Thank you to Patrick Millsap, one of our favorite Republicans here at MHB. Apparently because he was drawn into politics by a Democrat. The rest are back for more. And a programming note. Next week on this program, House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi comes to Nerdland. She helped potentially to cure the blues of this president. So be sure to join us for that. And after the break, 8 years after Katrina, the people of New Orleans are experiencing a rebirth. But let's be clear, it is not because of any decision point made by President George W. Bush. I've got a letter when we come back.